Good morning and welcome to our member webinar series. Happy International Women's Day. Imagine a world free from bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive. This year's International Women's Day challenged us to do exactly that. Break the bias and imagine a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Today, we're pleased to welcome Shannen Kiely, Managing Director of Erebus Race Team, who will be presenting on today's theme, Break the Bias. Before I hand over to Aileen Hiskins from Strategic Alignment Training, the HRA staff training and development partner, to introduce Shannen, I want to cover off some basic housekeeping. We will have a Q&A active during the webinar, so if you have a question, please post it there. And if we have time, we will answer the questions at the conclusion of the presentation. There will also be a poll question during the webinar, so please make sure to respond to the poll when it comes up. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available to all members in the coming days. So I'll now hand over to Aileen and Shannen. You're on mute, Aileen.
Thanks, Dee, and welcome everyone. And yes, happy International Women's Day. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Shannen Kiely with us today, and we'll get to know Shannen over the next hour, and you'll see, as I know Shannen, the talents of Shannen. But I want to start with a question to prompt us before we introduce Shannen. I want to let you know some information that managing directors, on average, the age is 47 and they are male within the industry. If you came to a meeting and you were going to be introduced to the managing director and Shannen Kiely walked in the door, would you be surprised? Please answer honestly, and it's with anonymity, but we'd love you to answer the poll that Dee is putting up there now. Couple more moments. Okay. So thank you for your honesty. 60% of the group said they would be surprised. 29% that were no, and some 11% want some time to consider that. I want us to hold that feeling. If I was responding to that, in all honesty, I would have answered yes to that. I spend my world developing people, and I know Shannen brings incredible talent. But we're going to unpack that and more today as to why is it that we are surprised by that. What are we not expecting, and what are we expecting? So it is great pleasure that I introduce you to Shannen Kiely, and I know that when the end of this session comes and you learn about Shannen and her expertise and her wonderful work that she's done, you will know, you will be very grateful that we have Shannen as a managing director inside the race team, which is Erebus Motorsport. So Shannen, do you mind sharing with us? Thank you first, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Thank you. Do you mind just taking us through a little bit of your journey to how did you come to be the role that you are today? What was the journey? And we'll just please encourage people to ask questions, but I'll ask you some questions as we go along. So just take us through Shannon's journey to where she is today.
Yep, absolutely. So I suppose I've always had a passion for what I am doing now, which is motorsport and sport in general, which I guess a lot of sports in general are male dominated. My journey probably started very, I guess, stereotypically in a more female dominated position, which was PR and journalism. So that was, I'm in my 12th season of Supercars now, which I guess when people look at me, they don't they don't expect me to have had 12 years experience either. But it did start in a PR journalism role. And then from then I sort of I've slowly stepped up along the way. So PR and media slowly evolved into sponsorship and managing accounts for partners, ensuring that the commercial team, the commercial side of the business and the team was running efficiently. And then I joined Erebus Motorsport 6 years ago. So half of my time in supercars has been with the one team, which is also run under the only female team owner, Betty Clemenco. And I suppose being under a female team owner potentially gave me more opportunities than what I would have had elsewhere. But also just the environment, and also being a small family kind of tight-knit team, allowed me to really show my skill set, I think, and gave me the opportunity to show what I could do. And then over the last sort of few years, it's seen me step up. So I sort of grew out of that PR media role, stepped into sponsorship, then became the general manager of communications. And it was about 18 months ago that Betty called me. We were actually on the phone having a discussion about something else, and we were trying to sort of problem solve something that was going on within the business. And she basically said to me, that we need to get this person in. Here's what I need out of, this new role that I'm creating. And, you've got some time to think about, but the person is you. And that totally surprised me. I sort of thought, as I said before, it was the stereotypical role for a woman, for women in motorsport, even though being a very male-dominated industry has always been that PR and media role. And once I made it to general manager of communication, I sort of thought, that's the roof is probably there. That's about all that, there's no more stepping stones for me. I don't really see where else I can go in motorsport unless I was to go do something else entirely. But then obviously, this opportunity arose, and it was something that I just I had no idea what I was doing, in all honesty. I thought, this is absolutely nuts. I walked out to my partner and said, this just happened. I'm mind blown. I don't understand how that just happened. But I think it was just something that the opportunity came up, and it was something I had to do. So, there was no way I was going to say no to an opportunity, even though I didn't see that for myself. If you ask me what, my next plan is in 5 years, I have no idea, because 5 years ago, I didn't see this in my future. So, I think it's just, I probably, you need to have belief in yourself, because anything is possible. And if you have the right people around you as well, then it certainly makes it a lot more easier.
Yeah, so having that support. I mean, you were 27 years old at the time. It would have been a surprise, a shock. It's a male-dominated industry. We've got plenty of 27-year-olds on the call today that are actually, saying, I've got to lean into these things, because we are surprised ourselves. So let's say that there was 60% of the room that in that meeting room that you're about to go into now. 60% of them are going to be surprised. They know that it's Shannon, but they're assuming it's Shannon with an O-N, let's say, rather than Shannon with an E-N. So what's going through your head at that time?
You definitely start to think about it. And I've said before that you can sometimes feel like you're a bit of an imposter, that you don't think you don't deserve to be there, or people aren't expecting you to be there. Do they expect a 47-year-old male that has Shannon with an O-N? And I suppose I've got that name that can go both ways. So I've actually had people believe that I was going to rock up as a male, and were surprised. So that answer in the poll did not surprise me at all. And, I would probably expect the same, just because of the industry that we're in. But sorry, I've actually lost my train of thought.
So when you are going into that feeling, does it make you feel nervous? Does it make you?
Absolutely. And I think, even as I've stepped up in my position, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, I think those thoughts in your minds, or those doubts, can be quite natural, and maybe it's not just us. Maybe it's not just because we're female and I'm 29 years old. Perhaps it's something that a lot of people experience, but potentially it's not not spoken about, but it's definitely, you know, it does play on your mind. And whether it's something that people actually think or not, obviously, you know, I wasn't given my role because I was female or because of anything other than the fact that obviously, you know, Betty and Barry Ryan, our CEO, thought Shannon's the right person for the job. So, you know, walking into those rooms, even though you think you're, you know, am I right here? Am I the right person? Should I be here? What do they think of me? Obviously, someone thinks I'm the right person. So it's, you know, definitely having that support, and you just sort of got to remind yourself of that, because it does get nervous. You do get nervous, and you do start having those thoughts. But at the same time, if you start having those thoughts, then, you know, you will start to portray that too. So you've got to back yourself. You've got to have that self-belief, I think. Otherwise, it'll start to show through, and then people will see that as a weakness. You know, if you come in strong and confident, people see that and go, well, she's the right person. Look at her. She can hold that room.
Yeah, that's great. There's an experiment that was done, and people who are on the call might want to. We could put it up, actually. Give it to Dee and Katie to provide to the call, those on the call. But it's called Howard and Heidi. And basically what it is, it's Howard and Heidi have both had a very successful career, and they are the one person. So they're a fictitious person that's been provided to a team about who we may be wanting to appoint to this role that's become available. So they give out the information about Howard and Heidi, and only thing that's different is their name. And what happens when the experiment, the results of that experiment show that when it says Heidi on there and someone's really achieved the things that they are, their likability is rated lower than the likability of Howard, who's achieved those same things in that same time with those exactly same experiences. Has that ever come from you around whether people like or don't like the idea that you are in that role, Shannon? Has it had an influence for you?
I've certainly had barriers, I suppose, of, you know, when it was first announced that I would be taking on the role of managing director. There were certainly barriers, and, you know, some people that didn't believe that I should have that role. And yes, partly I believe, without speaking for them, but partly I believe that, you know, some of it was because I was a female and it was a male dominated industry, and, you know, a lot of males in our industry as well are quite, I guess, old school in their thinking. So, you know, some of them have been around the sport, you know, since the 70s and 80s, and, you know,
We can
back
relate.
then it was even more males. I've seen more females come into the sport in the 12 years that I've been around. So, you know, you definitely, but then as well, you get people that like Betty, who is, you know, incredible, and once told me it doesn't matter if you're female or male, I don't care. If you're the right person for the job, you're the right person for the job. And I think it's, you know, if your skill set is exactly what it, you know, if your skill set should do the talking, not your gender and not your age, not anything else, it's your skill set. And if you're the right person for the job, then you should have it. But there's definitely those barriers.
Do you think that whilst there's barriers, do you think having a mentor like Betty has shaped your thoughts around it in terms of the work that you do? We'll talk about that a little later, the work that you do with young women coming into. But do you think that Betty's had a strong influence in terms of the way that you apply yourself in that?
Definitely. I think, you know, as I said before, it's knowing that she has that belief. And even when I've doubted myself and thought, I can't take on this role, like that's not, do I have the experience? Do I have the knowledge? Can I do that? She thinks I can. So, you know, that's meant a lot. And obviously she thinks, whether I'm male or female, she thinks I've got the skill set to do that. And she's trusted me with that. So, you know,
she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff, and you rate her. Could you, for those that don't know Betty, and I'm sure that they'll be Googling her if they don't afterwards, but how would you describe Betty?
Betty is an interesting character. So she's, I suppose, how do I explain her actually? Briefly, she has grown up She was adopted. She was and found herself in a family that her father was the founder of Westfield Shopping Centres. And then I suppose she still runs part of that business, but she wanted to go out on her own and do her own thing, which is completely different to what her family trade was, I suppose. And she wanted to run a motorsport team. Her father and her used to watch motor racing when she was a young girl, and that's where she developed a passion. But she's definitely not what you would expect. She probably fits more in with the supercars world than the corporate world. She's had purple hair, she's got tattoos, she's the definition of someone that doesn't care what people think. So she can go in as a female and hold a room no matter where she is, but it's definitely her and her belief and her obviously non-bias that's allowed, given me an opportunity that I didn't think I'd have.
That's so true. So passionate, non-conformist, non-biased, doesn't have those biases, right person for the job, and you've been doing some incredible work over the last 6 years, but also over the last 2 years. So she knows her stuff, and and that gives you the confidence to step into that, no doubt. So having, when someone believes in you, if you're on the call and you're thinking about your own teams, you're just because they rate you, if you can help them rate themselves in that way and get over some of those barriers that even the most confident of us do have in stepping into that role. Why do we think that is, especially in our industries where there's not as many females? Shannon, can I ask you, if you look right across motorsport, and you know it well, you've been in it for a long time, how many peers do you have that are female?
There's probably, for every team, so there's 25 cars up and down pit lane if I had to count, but for every team there might be a couple out of, say, 30 to 40. So the percentage is probably, in our team, it's probably higher than others, but we are quite a small team as well. But it'd be less than 10%, I would say.
Right. So less than 10% female. And what about in senior roles?
Senior roles, there is me and one other. So as I said before, they're stereotypically PR, media, or admin account sort of roles. There isn't much in more of a management role. So it is only me and one other. And I guess it just so happens as well that the other is pretty much the same age as me as well. So that's pretty cool. But it's great that we can also lean on each other as well. And I think it's really great to have that support no matter what position you're in.
Yeah. Do you think the surprise from myself and others, and it is, I'm putting myself in there, I would have done the same. Do you think that's because we can't see it? We don't see it. If we seen, rather than it being average 47, if it was average mixture and you couldn't work out what the average was and it was a mixture of gender, and do you think if we seen more of it, it would make a difference?
I think so, definitely. I think, obviously there are industries that are more balanced than others. And I suppose, the industry that I'm in, and then that everyone in here is in as well, is certainly male dominated. And, there has been a transition over the last 12 years since I've been in here in the industry, that there has been more. But, we hopefully in another 12 years, there'll be more again. So, and there's more male dominated roles, which is mechanics and engineers. And there's certainly some coming through, especially over the last 5 years. But it is, over hundreds of people that are in pit lane, that there is a very small number. So it's not seen. And I suppose it's, not only in our industry, but then, what you see on TV is, how our sport is portrayed, and you don't necessarily catch them. So, a lot of the people that you do see are males, or they're, your commentators and things like that, which are your females. So I think over the next, decade or so, you'll see more change, but I think it's just, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but hopefully everyone sort of starts to change the ways of their thinking. And then, not only will that age come down, but also, if Shannon's a a 30-year-old female, it's not totally such a surprise. We might get that number down to 50%, not 60%, because to be honest, even me being me, I would have expected a male as well.
Yeah, no, that's right, because it's because what we see. So what, and it is breaking down those biases, and many of those biases are unconscious biases. We don't think, in that way, but was what we're familiar with. So what's something that you're doing for the future? What are you doing today that's going to make the difference? Or what can all of us do? But what are you doing today that's making a difference, do you think, for where we will be in 10 years' time? Or
well, I'm lucky to be involved in a program called Girls on Track, which is run by the FIA. So it is an international program, and we are running programs across Australia. And obviously, I'm involved in Australia, and then obviously it runs over in the UK as well. Though we are, getting girls involved in the sport. We target 8 to 18-year-olds to sort of show, hey, here's an opportunity for you. Here's something that might be outside the box. It's not a stereotypical pathway, but here's some different opportunities for you. And whether they go, hey, I want to take up motorsport, or it just opens their eyes to something entirely different. Does it open their eyes to go be an electrical engineer, or go do something that's not stereotypically a female role? So I'm working with a lot of girls. I'm doing a lot of mentoring as well, just to sort of show the girls that there is opportunities out there for them. I guess it's just, my piece of advice is you just got to want to do it. It's, if you work hard and, you work hard, you make sure that you're putting in the effort and you're showing your skill set. Don't be afraid to show your skill set either. Don't sort of, like we said before, if you start to doubt yourself, you'll sort of kind of, I guess, not show the best of yourself. So if you're not scared to, then you will, and people will see that. So don't be scared to shine either. It's just showing them that the opportunity is there and not be afraid to take it.
Do you think that's a bias that we have for ourselves, potentially not wanting to step too far forward into the light? That we are shine. We want to maybe not shine as much as we.
Definitely, it can be scary when if I walk into stereotypically a lot of our big, I guess the key people inside a lot of our sponsor groups, they're all the 47-year-old male that we expected today. So it's definitely scary. It's you've got to try and hold the room and make sure you're doing a good job. And I think I do a good job at that. But yes, I have my doubts as well. So we have this unconscious bias that we're doubting ourselves, and you just got to have that self-belief and if you do, then I'm sure that no one else is going to start to doubt you, because you've got that confidence and they go, wow, they did a great job.
No, that's great. I might actually ask Dee if there's any questions to this point, and then we can continue. So if there's some questions for Shannon, can be from anything, can be anything at all. But I'd be keen to see if there's a question from the room.
We don't have any yet,
Right.
but I will ask one, Shannon.
Okay.
You have referred to yourself, MD, standing for Mother Duck, director. So do you still feel like the mother duck when you're traveling with all of your?
Yes. That is very. Yes, I have. I suppose. As a. Yeah. I haven't used that one for a while. I had forgotten about that one, but yes. So, I've found myself in instances that obviously we're a traveling team. So I got home about 20 minutes before this started from our first event of the season in Sydney. But we've spent a lot of time on the road, particularly across the last 2 years with COVID, and in 2020 we actually spent 105 days on the road. So I think that's where that comment actually came from, and that was the start of my journey. So in June I was promoted to managing director, and then in July we went away for those 105 days. And it was sort of, I suppose, in a role that I am within the team, I'm overseeing everything anyway and making sure that everything's running smoothly from an operational point of view, from a commercial point of view, in the whole business. So you certainly I guess, feel like they're all my children, and I'm sure that boys won't like that, but that's how I feel at times. And then particularly when you're on the road for 105 days, it's, you know, it was a great learning experience for me. It actually, I think, gave me a chance to really get, I guess, to break down some barriers that I felt going into that role, thinking, you know, what do they think of me having this role? You know, are they against it? I think it gave me a really good opportunity to show that, you know, I was the right person for the job, because, you know, we were living, eating, sleeping, well, not sleeping together, but you know what I mean, living together, working together 24/7 for 105 days. It was a situation you wouldn't usually find yourself in. So it certainly gave me an opportunity to sort of break down some of those barriers. But yes, I was definitely mother duck, making sure that everything was, you know, have they been fed? Have they got a flight? Have they got a car? Where are they going next? It's you know, I guess when I'm overseeing a lot of the race team, it does feel like I'm mother duck at times.
You know, I'm going to pick out there where you were together for 105 days, and we're not expecting those on the call to do that, to go away with their team for 105 days. But what you said then is that really gave you opportunity, working as closely as a team, for everyone to kind of understand where that skills and those values were, and what everyone brought to the team. And so that's an important part of breaking down these biases, is actually get to know those that you work with, the skills that they have, what they can bring, what they can maybe bring that we don't know about yet. So, and that can kind of break that bias, that's that person's role, so that's what they can do. They have a myriad of other experiences that they can bring. So getting to know individuals within the team is a good strategy for breaking down those
Definitely. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, Shannon's now the boss, but you know, is she going to tell me what to do? How does this work? But you know, I'm the first one to say that my background, as I said, it's come from PR and media and the commercial side of the business. I don't know how to make a race car go fast, and I'm not going to tell anyone that I do. You know, with any managing director, whether you're anyone, you know, you obviously have the right people employed to do the right job, and their skill set, or you know, stereotypically, or you know, mechanics and engineers, because they're the performance side of our business. You know, they are male. We have had females, which has been fantastic, but stereotypically they are male. So you know, they obviously, that was breaking the barrier with them and showing them, hey, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I can't do your job. And I trust you to do your job. If you've got any problems, you know, I'm here to help, and I'll try to understand them and do what I can. But here is my role. Here's how I'm here to help you. And you know, I guess let them understand and see what my actual role is, and how I can help. But then at the same time, being in that, you know, that scenario for 105 days, if they needed someone to, you know, do something for them, or you know, we were quite a small team, not everyone came on the road with us. I think, you know, I gained a lot of respect as well from doing jobs that, you know, I didn't sit back and go, sorry, that's not my job. You know, I helped. You know, if you need me to go grab some tires and fit tires or whatever it was, which would, you know, should have been someone else's job, and probably not if they, you know, you go down to Dunlop to collect tires. Again, they don't expect me to rock up when I'm throwing 25 kilo tires around, but I'm happy to do that. So I think, yeah, it was just, yeah, getting to know them and showing, hey, here's your strengths, here's my strengths. Let's work together and understand why we're all here, and we're all here for the common cause.
Shannon, we've had a few questions come through.
Cool, awesome, keep them coming.
So the first one, who inspires you?
Inspires me. There's a lot of people. I think, you know, there's obviously Betty's one. She's you know, got an amazing story, and I suppose just being in the position I'm in, you know, I want to be a sponge and soak up as much knowledge as I can from her. But then as well, you know, I guess I don't know if inspiration is the right word, but then, you know, the other female I spoke about before, which is in another team that is in basically the same role as me, you know, I look at her, and I guess we both sort of look at each other and support each other, and you know, can I guess, be proud of where we both are together. But if do I look at one female and go, you know what, that I want to be her? I'm not really sure, but I think I just sort of, you know, look at the people around me and feel inspired by them and just want to do the best of my ability. Hope that was an all right answer.
It was perfect. So next question. Congratulations, Shannon. I was one of the 60% who would have expected to see a male in your position. Sorry for the gender bias, but your words are encouraging. Betty was able to turn her passion into a successful business, so it's no wonder you're inspired by her success and nonconformist attitude. When you won the championship in 2017, were other teams happy for your team's successes? Also, do Erebus or any other teams have many engineers, pit crews, or non-traditional roles in these types of positions?
So what was the last part of that question?
Do Erebus or any other team have many engineers, pit crews, or non-traditional roles in these types of positions?
Were people surprised in 2017 or unhappy? Yes. In 2017, I wasn't, I guess, in the role I am now. I've been in this role since 2020. So I suppose that was when I was in the more of a PR and media role. But you know, we've not actually had engineers in our team as such. We've had a few mechanics. Unfortunately, they are no longer with us, but there's certainly mechanics around pit lane. So at one point, we were actually striving for we had 2 female mechanics, and they were actually both running on one car. So it was almost an all female lineup on that car, which was pretty cool. But there is certainly some roles around. You know, we can do anything. You know, I guess, you know, there's engineers, mechanics as your main ones, but then there's also, you know, different roles that are generally male. But and you know, it's great to see more females in motorsport, but as I said before, stereotypically we are more in those PR, media, admin roles or broadcast. But there's definitely been more come through as you know, those non-stereotypical roles, more females come through, and we've been lucky enough to have some of them as well. And you know, they've got more bravery than me. They don't care. They're out there with the boys, and they would want to kick their ass, really. So it's great to see, and I want to see more of it.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. And the final question I have for now. In supercars, there can only be one winner at the end of the season. How do you rate success in your industry?
Yeah, good question.
That is very true. There's 24 other people that aren't very happy, which is, you know, it's an amazing sport, and you know, it's certainly a roller coaster. You can enjoy the highs and the lows. You know, we were lucky enough on the weekend. On Sunday, we came away with a podium and a pole position, but at the same time, we didn't win. So there's only really one person that ever leaves happy on a weekend. But as well, for me, as I said before, you know, it's brilliant to see the team performing on track, but then with my role being more non-performance. So as I said before, I don't know how to make a car go fast. And although I enjoy and obviously love being part of that success on track, I also love seeing the success off track, because that's where I feel like that's, you know, that's where I play a part. You know, whether that's, you know, some PR campaign, signing a sponsor, you know, I guess for me last weekend, it was the first weekend of the season, which meant that, you know, pre-season was spent. You know, we went from, I guess, you know, having 2 separate cars last year with rolling sponsorships, and probably things weren't commercially running as sound as what they should be or could be. And, you know, this year we've come on board, we've got a sponsor across 2 cars, everything's been rebranded. In my mind, you know, I'm proud to be able to sort of say we've leveled up off track. And, you know, that's where, although as a team, success on the track is where it counts. But for me personally, off track and seeing those successes, that's a tick in the box for me.
Yeah, I love that, leveled up. I really like that. That's nice. way of saying it. It's great.
Since I said that was our last question, we've had 2 more come in.
Perfect.
But that's the secret. Say that's the last question. Can you tell us about the influence that Betty, as your current leader, has had on your career?
Look, I 100% don't think I would be in the position that I am in without her. Obviously, you know, she hasn't given me this position because I'm a female or because of who I am. You know, there's no reason for me to for her to give me this job. People often go, oh, you must be Betty's daughter. No, I'm not. I've got no relation. I've just, I've been lucky enough to work with her for 6 years. But, I think her non-biased attitude towards anything, she's not discriminating whether you're covered in tattoos, because she's covered in tattoos herself. She's, if you've got purple hair, she's not going to care. She truly believes that if you're the best person for the job, then you should have it, regardless of what you look like, who you are, your age, your gender, anything like that. So I definitely feel like her non-biased attitude is what's given me the opportunity. And obviously, I think I've obviously proven that I should be given this opportunity and shouldn't, have, I think being part of her team and being quite small, we're a team of probably 25, whereas I've worked at teams that have 50, 60 people. It's certainly given me an opportunity to show my skill set and not be sort of, cornered into, that's what your role is and that's all you do. So it's enabled me, obviously, the environment and our amount of, staff. I always say we're quality over quantity. But, it's enabled me to really show off my skills to her and to Barry. But certainly her non-biased attitude is what's gotten me to where I am today. So, I'll forever be grateful for that.
Fantastic.
Thank you. One last one, and I say that.
We'll see.
Do you think the bias of men in an industry is partially driven by the customer perceiving that men are more knowledgeable or can fulfill their needs? In other words, the customer drives the gender bias more than the business itself subconsciously. An example is that in the events hire sector, staging and design is typically more female dominated. And I personally would go to a female for expertise in that area over a male.
I think it's very, even though the industries are different, I can totally understand that. I think, there's strengths that women have and there's strengths that men have. And there's no, there's no doubting that. And, I think we're, I guess a lot, it is a problem within the team. I know that even though they're males, they're more likely to come to me because, I'm the softer person. I'm having more nurturing, listening. I can listen, whereas males, I guess, probably tend not to. Even our partners sometimes. But I think, but then there's obviously, males are, can be quite, I guess, boisterous and is that a better role somewhere else? Whereas, like that PR and media, stereotypically, that's always females. And I think, we have a great attention to detail. There's, we're very creative, where, there's strengths that women generally have that make us better suited for that or for the staging and design. Whereas stereotypically there's male traits that might be better suited, but it doesn't mean that there's someone out there that can't do it. And with the Heidi and Howard case study that Aileen was talking about before, a female in that role might come across as aggressive, whereas a male is just probably being what a male does, but the female comes across as aggressive and perhaps trying to throw that authority, which we're not. We're doing the exact same thing. I guess it's just seen that way because, as we said before, that's generally not where we've seen females in the past. But there's definitely that, there's those roles that generally females are in or better at for different ways, and we do have different traits.
I think that's the visibility there. I just wanted to share one of the a diesel mechanic, one of the best diesel mechanics who won the awards all the way through her apprenticeship, went 11 times out of a year. She'll get turned back at the gate to say send a man, and yet she's the qualified. So I guess it depends on what happens next. You know, some managers that she's had have actually called the client, the customer, and said, I know you're familiar with it being a guy. This is our best mechanic, and you're in really good hands, and she's doing the job. And others have said, come back. You don't need to put up with that. Come back. So it's what we do when those biases happen, because that is a great example that we've just been shared of an unconscious bias. Because if someone is an event manager and they're a male and they're doing that job, they've got the skills to do that job. So you know, it's just, we're just not seeing it. So it's about what do we do with it? How do we break it down? And yeah, that's really great. I think you've got more questions.
I have two more. The first one, hi Shannon, great to be here on International Women's Day. I have a background in the auto industry and found it quite challenging as a young woman. Do you still face any microaggressions, incorrect language, or similar in the boardroom? And how do you and your colleagues address those?
Good question.
I think I probably getting it less. I think, you know, with almost 2 years in this position now, I've sort of hopefully, you know, people I'm dealing with, I've shown that I am the right person for the job. And even within our team as well, as I said, that, you know, when I first got given the role, there was certainly tension, I suppose, and barriers to break within the team itself. So that's internally, and then obviously what external stakeholders are perceiving me as. But sorry, go back to that question one more time, sorry.
Do you still face any microaggressions, incorrect language?
Yeah, so as I was saying, so yes, but I think they're slowly changing. And, you know, if I can, you know, change those, then obviously, you know, maybe in another 10 years or something, those barriers won't be so big for other females coming into the sport. But they're certainly there, but I think it's just breaking those barriers ourselves that hopefully then, you know, that they're no longer there. You've slowly got to break them down, and then hopefully, you know, obviously no one sees them anymore.
So would you call it out now, Shannon? Would you call out something that was seen as aggressive or language that was just not appropriate?
Definitely. It's got to be, you know, I suppose too, and it's probably the same in the hire industry, where, you know, there's even, you know, certain languages and things that are used, that they've got to remember that there's females here now. Like it's not all the boys hanging out. It's not boys club. You know, we're all there to do our job, and we need to be professional and, you know, respect everyone that's in it. So, yeah, there's definitely still those instances. But I think, you know, from my experience, I guess, you know, as I said before, just trying to, you know, what can I do to gain that respect from everybody, to show them why I'm here, and then that breaks it down.
I love this theme that's coming back for you, Shannon, and knowing you, I know that this is who you are in lots of what you do, but you hold yourself account for it, don't you? You know, what's my role in that? So what can I do to change that? What's my impact of that? And I think accountability to own it and to lean into it and level up. And those things.
That's right. Yeah, I think, you know, we can, you know, we all know the barriers there. As I've said before, you know, 60% of everyone, including myself, would have expected me to be the male. So we know the barriers are there. So it's, you know, obviously that self-belief, or what I was talking about before, certainly helps in having that confidence to be able to, you know, take it to the men. But then, yeah, it's, you know, just getting that respect. So what can I do, really? Because otherwise, if we just, you know, it's great to have support from people, and certainly having other females around you to be able to go, hey, look, and understanding that we're all going through something similar, whether we're in the same industry or something different, we all probably go through something similar. So we're not alone. It does happen no matter what role we're in, but what can we actually do to change it? How can we, you know, change their perception? And I suppose that's what I sort of felt like I did on that 105-day road trip.
Yep, good. More questions, I think, Dee.
Yeah. So beyond your gender, how have you overcome the bias that is related to age? At 27, I look like a 12-year-old child in some lighting, and I have been suffering age discrimination since I became a manager at 18. How do you overcome this?
I think it's the same thing. I don't know the answer to, you know, obviously we can't change our age, we can't change our gender. It is what it is. You know, I certainly, you know, I'm 30 this year. So I'm quite young. And as Aileen said before, I've been in this role since I was 27. So it's not something that anyone expects me to be in. But I think you approach it the same way as you do being a female. There are biases there, and you know, whoever the question has come from, you know, we're both in that same role, that we've actually got two biases. So, you know, I think it's just having that confidence to hold the room, because, you know, we can't change our age. We can't do anything about that. And we should be, you know, we're privileged that we've actually made it into a role. You know, I'm privileged that I've made it to a role 20 years before the average male has. So, you know, why is that? I can't answer that, but, you know, we're here for a reason, and it's just making sure, you know, that positive affirmation, so that we start showing that, and we can feel confident and, you know, be the boss. And I think that's how we change it. And if we act that way, if we portray that, then people see that too. And then that's, again, starts to break the barriers.
Yeah. Good. I think you've cleared those questions. Some advice that you might give to those on the call, that, you know, if there was a couple of pieces of advice that you could say that they would break down the barrier, what might it be for anyone? Any pieces of advice that you'd like to leave with?
Obviously, as I keep saying, that self-belief and that confidence and the positive affirmation is certainly one, because, you know, there will be times that all of us feel that, you know, we are being imposters, we shouldn't be in this room, are we the right person? But as well, not, you know, 5 years ago or 2 years ago, I thought I'd reached the ceiling in motorsport. I thought that was it for me, because stereotypically that was the female sort of career path in motorsport, and there were no others at the time. The other female that's now in a similar role to me, we've sort of made this progression at the same time. So it's not like I actually saw someone in this position before me. We are the first two in motorsport, and it did sort of happen simultaneously. So I haven't been able to look at anyone and go, you know, one day I want to be her. I saw a ceiling for myself, which, you know, I was very fortunate that wasn't the case. There was no ceiling for me. But just knowing that, you know, the opportunities are there, and just wanting to make it. And even if, like me, I got a phone call and, you know, thought I was on a phone call about something else, and came out an hour later and was like, I think I just got a job promotion. What just happened?
Did you initially think that she was telling you what she wanted so you could help them find what she wanted?
Absolutely. I had no idea where the conversation was going. I knew where she was, you know, I could understand why she was, you know, talking about this role. And I was like, yep, okay, this makes sense. Yep, cool. You know, because we were sort of problem solving for something that was going on within the team. But yeah, I had no idea that at the end of it, she's like, cool, you've got a month to think about it. And I probably thought about it for a day, or going, holy crap, how can I do this? This isn't my experience. My expertise is this, and she wants me to go here. So, you know, it was certainly a surprise for me. But again, like I said before, it was, you know, someone had belief in me. So, you know, I just had to take it with both hands and absolutely, you know, just do my absolute best. And, you know, I'm very fortunate as well that, you know, you know, if you have a boss that like Betty, that doesn't expect me to take on the world straight away, but, you know, I can learn off her. And, you know, it's all a learning process, no matter what role you're in. You know, everything at some point, everything's new to you. So it can always, you know, we'll always find a scary point at some point, but just not being scared of it, and being, you know, having the motivation and the passion to want to tackle it, I think that's like the biggest thing really, is just not being scared of the opportunity, not being scared of it. If you want that role, if you want to be the manager, if you want to be level up, if you want to be the leader, don't be scared of it because you're young or you're a female or you don't think you can. If you have the belief and want to do it, if you want to do the job, then why can't you?
Good. That's
I
great.
have another one.
Cool.
The success of any organization depends on good culture. How do you go about building culture in male-dominated motorsport?
I suppose I've been, again, like, our culture has always been very non-biased, because we've always had a female team owner, and I've been very lucky in that respect. But I think it's just, like I said before, the boys sometimes need to remember that there are females around. So it's not the boys' club. We need to respect each other. Doesn't mean we can't have fun, and there'll be banter, and there's a good, we're a very tight-knit team. As I said before, there's probably 25 of us and 5 of them are female, so our percentage is actually quite high, given that how many there are, whereas other teams probably aren't that high. Sorry.
Do you work on culture, Shannon, as a team? Do you work on the culture? Like, do you work on the off-field stuff or off-track stuff?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It's all, as with our team and being together for so long, obviously in 2020 we're together for 105 days, but I generally spend more time with people at work than I do my own family. So it's got to work. The culture's got to be there, and the culture's got to be there for people to want to do the job and not be scared of being the best at their job and wanting to do it, whether they're female or male. So even generally our team is quite young, so even though I'm the only female in the role that I'm in, we've obviously got other females within the team, but we're also quite a young team. So I think our culture has definitely had that non-bias to young people as well. So I'm 29 and a bit, and I'm actually not the young one. We've got race engineers, we've got our crew chief and chief mechanics that are actually younger than me. So we don't have that bias. If you're the right person for the job, then you should do it. And it's just really about making sure that people are feel comfortable that they're there. If you need a hand, you're not scared to ask. But culture is definitely a big part. If you don't have the right culture, then people won't perform. And obviously we're in a very, obviously you got to perform in any role, but we're in a very high performance job as well, so it's very important.
That's great. Do the other teams support each other when you win, or do they hate it?
You congratulate each other. We're all good sports people. You congratulate each other, but at the end of the day, you want to be the best no matter what you're doing. So we came second on Sunday, and it was a brilliant result. And if we had have asked for that, if you had have said that to us at the start of the season, podium first weekend, we'd be stoked with that. We're definitely happy, but you can always be doing better, and that's with anything you do. And as I said before, my tick of the box is really the off-track stuff. Where do I see success? Was it a successful weekend for me? Absolutely. But can I do better? Yep, I've got a list of notes to debrief tomorrow, and we'll keep moving forward. So you're happy, you'll applaud them, but everyone wants to be the best at whatever they're doing.
That's right. Any further questions, Dee?
No, that's it, I think.
I wonder whether if I could be controversial and ask the question, if we'd been in the meeting for the last hour with Shannon and she was the managing director, how surprised we would now be. Dee, if you wouldn't mind popping back up the poll.
Like Katie to do that. I don't have the power.
Don't know if I should be nervous or
this is one of those moments.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, how did I do? This is my report card.
Yeah. And there'll be people reading, different things into it anyway. So could be how I've expressed the question, Shannon. So
You blame Aileen.
yeah, when in doubt, blame me.
I wouldn't do that. Hey,
I'm
remember
too late.
accountability.
I'm so close to Betty. It wouldn't work. I don't have pink hair though.
No.
I do have a son who's a tattoo artist. Oh dear.
Oh,
Go. All right. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations. And I, having known Shannon for a number of years now, I'm so stoked that she is in that position because I think you're really making a difference. Making a difference for women. You're making a difference for this sport that you're in and the team that you're in. And
Thank you.
we've been so fortunate that you gave your time today. And I know that you were coming directly back for this, so I really do appreciate it. I know you had to move some things around as well.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, as you know, Aileen, I'm passionate, from what I could do with Girls on Track to, just making sure that women feel like they can do the job and they can be out there. So, more than happy to be on the call today, and I'll, move mountains to make it happen. So, thank you to everyone, and happy International Women's Day. And as well, if anyone ever has, questions or wants advice or wants to know more, or always happy for people to reach out as well via LinkedIn or whatever it be.
Yeah. Please link in. Please link in to Shannon. I'm a big advocate for us building our network and supporting each other. Shannon, thanks very much. Dee, thank you so much.
Yes, so that concludes today's webinar. Thank you so much, Shannon, and thank you, Aileen, and everyone for attending. The next webinar will be in April, and the topic will be load restraint. As always, the national office is always here to assist, so please feel free to reach out.
Well, I think
Thank you, everyone.
Chat. Is there a quick chat before we go?
Oh, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you.
See you. Take care.